Hi everyone, I'm Nancy L.T. Hamilton. Welcome to my jewelry studio. Today is the third video in a three-part series on the marquise stone setting, and we are going to be discussing how to set the stone in this video. So without further ado, let's get on over to the bench. You'll want to hold your ring really nice and firmly in something. You can use one of the GRS blocks. This one is the Micro Block XL, and I have the attachment set that goes with it that has these two pieces here. So there's the attachment set. Like I said, these leather dog eyes come with it. And there's also, GRS makes an interior dimension ring holder that doesn't work with the Benchmate, but it does work with the block or GRS vices. They also have a Benchmate system with interior diameter ring holders too. You could use any kind of thermoplastics like Thermolock or Jet Set Ballistic. You can use a dop wax, you can use shellac, you can use pitch in a pitch pot. Anything to keep that stuff, the material that we're working on, from moving in some way, hopefully that you can access all different sides of the setting. You can make yourself a little punch. This is from GRS. It's just a steel blank, and then I just kind of flatten the end a little bit on this. There's another one slightly bigger, and then you can always use a bezel pusher like this, and I'm going to be using a chasing hammer because we're going to hammer this over. You can also use on the floor, you can also use a hammer handpiece, which I will show you. Moving on, you want to make sure that your piece is pretty close to the final finish, and once it is, we can begin the setting process. So you don't absolutely have to do this step that I'm going to show you if your stone's fitting in there nicely, but you might want to. And pretty much what we're doing is just taking off the sharp edge and putting just a little bevel on it. This is a 2mm ball burr. You can also use a setting burr, and I'm just taking a little off. I find that the more you do this, the more it becomes unlevel, especially if you've taken great pains to create an inner bezel that is square and level. Just taking off a hair of this is good enough. If you take off too much, you can get a divot in one side, or take off too much on one side and then all of a sudden it's unstable, it's rocking. Okay, this step though I do recommend doing is to make, and this is a 1mm ball burr, and I'm putting a little hole down at the end and also kind of dragging it down to make a little V, because the marquise has this ridge running along the back side. So by making a little slot in one end of the setting, it gives it a place to put that little thing. Keel, making my little divot and then dragging down to make a little V. So that's all the prep you have to do for the interior fitting, especially if your stone fits well in there and doesn't wobble. So I don't know if you know about these or not. They're little stops, and you put your burr in, and this, you put the burr on your ledge and drop this down, and there's a little Allen wrench you tighten it down on, and then I would double check that your height is correct. But what this does is you can run this over the top and around your edge and give you a much more even cut than you would do if you were doing it by hand. You'll want to check and verify that your stone actually still fits in, and then you want to look at how high this bezel wall is. This one is way too high. I want to see the table sticking out a little bit above this. So I'm going to take this down somewhat. If you only have a little to go, height-wise, I recommend doing like 320 sandpaper. If you have a bunch to go, you can always drag down a file. Like count one direction, then turn. And once again, if you are close, you want to double check often because you can't take it back once it's done. So I still have more work to do here. I'm just going to run through real briefly. Once you get done with the filing, you want to move on to your various grits of sandpaper. We are going to be filing some of this edge, so you don't have to get crazy because this needs to have a bevel on it because it's rather thick around this edge. If you made yours using 28 gauge material, you don't have to do a bevel on it. 28, 26. If it looks like this thick, yeah, you want to go ahead and take some of this down so that it's easier to set. All right, so this is pretty much where I want it to be. You can see a little bit of the table poking out. The bigger the stone, the little, you might have a little more table hanging out than on the smaller stone. You literally just need enough material to cover a very thin margin all the way around the stone. So now, and you want it to fit in here level. You don't want it to rock. So if I push on this, it's not rocking back and forth. It's not rocking from side to side. If I look down on it, it's square. If I look across from it, it's square. So I'm ready to bevel this edge a little bit and then begin the setting process. So you want this at approximately a 45-degree angle. So not straight up and down, but more like that. You want to make sure you cover your edges so you don't accidentally file on something you don't want to file on. I'm going to file that bevel all the way to the point. And your indicator is this line here, the upper edge. You want it to be pretty even and you want it to be rather thin. So I'm going to finish this because it's very hard to do without putting my head in the way. So I'm going to complete this one edge to show you what it should look like. So see this thin line up here? Thin the metal enough that it'll be much easier to push over. I could actually take a little more off on this tip. It's a little thick there. And then I'm going to go in with a finer file and kind of clean this up a little bit. When I put this in the vise too, I have it pretty high up so I'm not filing the vise itself. So now I have a little burring on top. I'm going to just take off some of those little rough edges there. You can even take a small file and just kind of come in and clean this up, or a reamer if you've got it. My files are just closer. You don't want to take too much height off, that will mess you up. And then don't forget to clean it out. You want to make sure your stone is clean too before you put it in here. So this is ready to hitting with the punch. So I'm going to do the hammer and punch around for the first round, and then I'm going to switch to the hammer handpiece to show you that for the second round. So the goal here is to start at one end and go about midway and then do the other. So we're going to set the corners first. Then we're going to hit this side and we're going to go towards the center and this towards the center. That by setting from the ends towards the center, it keeps you from getting a little buckle somewhere down here if you're working this way. I've scalpeled off a piece of packing tape. Put that on here, making sure double checking that this table is level in here. And this isn't going to stand forever. It's just going to be good to help us get started with the setting process. You're going to start in your corner at about a 45-degree angle and walk down about halfway. And then you want to come from the other side, hit down the corner, walk halfway. Then you flip it to the other side, that corner, keeping an angle, and then going back to the corner. And it's moving. So that's using the punch and the hammer. And I'm going to switch out to the hammer handpiece now. As far as I know, there's two basic hammer handpieces. This one, if you look here, is essentially longer than this one, even though this has this extension on it. And for me, it's easier to hold this in my hands than it is with the big flex shaft part hanging down here. So I like the one with the spring. That's just personal preference. Using a punch with a flat tip. The handpiece, you just pull off your other one, and then you just pop the hammer handpiece on. Once again, I'm going to start at the end. If you hold it slightly off, it gives more of a punch. You can also put your finger on the stone, keep it from hitting the stone. I'm probably more at a 60-degree angle now. I don't know if you can tell, but this side right here, over here, is getting a little flatter. Okay, so I'm going to move it up even higher now, more of a steep angle, more like this as opposed to this. Start at your corner, halfway, turn it around. And I'm going to do this side. Come from the other corner. Okay, and now I'm going to do top almost 90. I'm going to think burnishing. Strokes overlapping. Okay, so I think that's pretty much done. I'm going to scrape off my tape that got massacred. Okay, so now I want to grab a sanding stick. I want to come in, keep my finger on top of my stone so I don't scratch the heck out of it, as it will get scratched, even the CZ. You can also, and I should probably show you this too, you can also do the masking tape thing. So I'm going to wedge that over, and I take a scalpel and cut around that stone. You can make a really easy little sanding stick that's thinner than using a paint stirrer with just a popsicle stick. After I've gone to 400 grit sandpaper, I like to go in with a medium silicone, knife edge, or a point. Remember, keep that finger over that stone or it will get scratched. Forget your mask. The last bit is either using a flat or a number 2 onglet graver. Clean up the edges if necessary. And the graver just goes on its face there and just turn. And this will take out any little bits of flotsam and jetsam from the setting process. It also burnishes the interior. You can also take a little tiny burnisher. I have a video and go along any rough edges in there. So then the last thing, in case you've got any scratches, little ones, go in with your pink, clean up that edge, stay off the stone. If you do get on the stone and you scratch it, you can get diamond compound and use it with a dab of water on a felt buff. And that can, usually if you get a couple different grits of this stuff, that will help take out scratches from stones. And I've got a knife edge felt wheel, and I'm putting on some rouge. And once again, protect your stone and rouge that puppy up. And then I wash this with Dawn dish detergent and a toothbrush in hot water, and then tumble. Thanks for joining me on this jewelry making journey. I hope you join me again. I appreciate your visiting and hope you learned something new, have some beautiful jewelry, and maybe had a little fun on the way. See you soon. Ciao.